All right, so today I'm going to be talking about why nightclubs are dying, what's going on, what the future of socializing at night looks like, and break down some of the statistics. So, nightclub life and nightlife in general is dying fast. In the UK, 480 clubs have closed between June of 2020 and June of 2024, and partially this is due to COVID, right, hitting in March, the global pandemic, March of 2020. But there's also been a noticeable cultural shift, and there are economic factors. So there have seen, and it's been reported that a 54% decline from 2013 to 2024 in nightclub activity. Okay, so by this statistic, we see that fewer people are going out. People might be more economically strained. There are, of course, digital reasons why it's a lot easier to just spend the night at home and be on Netflix than go out and dress up and coordinate and spend money. Okay, so this industry is projected to vanish by 2029. So if these trends continue over the next 5 years, then there might just not be nightclubs. Like, that just might not be a thing future generations will engage in because of economic factors, social factors, and cultural trends. Okay, so even in the US, New York City, Miami, and Vegas have all been reported as slower in the nightclub scene. I believe Miami was down 20% over the last year. Vegas, I've heard a lot of talk about how people who rely on tips out there have seen their income slashed in half because of price gouging, because of just people used to go out there to get cheap deals and have fun, all these things, and then when plane tickets and hotels and drinks and food and entertainment goes through the roof, people kind of think twice and might stay locally. So a lot of major cities in the US also have seen a decline in the nightlife scene. Okay, so a big factor of this is simply that young people just aren't going out. They aren't going out as much. So a 2025 UK statistic shows that 61% of 18 to 30-year-olds go out less than they did the year before. I believe this was down roughly 12 to 15%. And only 16% of them are out after 10 p.m. So younger people in the UK just aren't clubbing as much, and they decide to stay indoors, mostly behind computer screens. Okay, so a global survey finds that young people are prioritizing digital connection over in-person meetings. Now, part of this might be because of COVID and that causing the lockdowns causing people to have anxiety, be used to staying indoors, really just like a cataclysmic shift in digital first with university study and college, right, being 100% digital, and just the in-person aspect being missing. A lot of people have entered the workforce since then, and they've never had an in-person job. They've never been to an office. They've never gone to an in-person work environment because they can, do their job at home. Okay, so cultural and economic strains. This is obviously another big factor. It costs more money to go out, right? Drinks are more expensive. Ubers, Lyfts, hotels, food, all of these things cost more money. And so alcohol consumption in the US for people under 35, 62% of people under 35 report that they drink alcohol, but 2 decades ago that was roughly 72%. Now, that doesn't sound like a whole lot, but fewer people are drinking. Okay, and has been in headlines saying, Gen Z and younger millennials don't drink, and people are like, well, it means, hey, they're making more healthy choices. But part of this is because they consume other drugs, right? Marijuana, mushrooms, designer drugs. A lot of people, especially homeless people, are addicted to fentanyl, where it costs a few dollars a pop, right? Rather than expensive bottles of alcohol. And so there are other factors, not just related to drinking, that have attributed to this, okay? So a UK economic pressure, basically, of energy prices, wages, taxes, all of these things both make people go out less, and also put the clubs on thin margins. So when it costs a lot of money to heat and run electricity to your business, to your building, right? You have to pay staff members fair wages, taxes, all of these things, economic strains. People notice when the price of a drink doubles in 5 years, okay? And so economics is also a big part of this. So another factor would be loneliness and isolation, okay? So global Gen Z, roughly 80% of them report loneliness in the past year versus only 45% of boomers, okay? So Gen Z are much lonelier than boomers, and they're not making as many in-person connections. They have fewer friends. I believe 1 in 3 people under 30 years old can't even name a close friend. They don't have a close friend, okay? And this is a lot in part to digital retreat, okay? So in the US, 21% of adults reported loneliness in 2024, and this is due to anxiety, lack of purpose, and social disconnection. So this has been amplified since the COVID pandemic, but also just with the cheap sources of dopamine we have at our fingertips at home. If you think about your phone, you have unlimited media and entertainment. You have cheap junk food that you can sit at home and consume. Porn, video games, all these social digital distractions that are a lot easier than going out into the real world. Okay, so another huge factor of why nightlife is dying is a romantic retreat. Okay, so much fewer people are looking for partners, fewer people are getting married, fewer people are having kids, and fewer people are even trying to date. So 37% of people under 30 are not interested and not looking for a significant other. Okay, they are not on dating apps. They are not trying to talk to the opposite sex in public, and they're not even trying. I believe 50%, somewhere around 50%, have just given up. So nightclubs are essentially a lost social hub. That used to be where people would meet and hang out with their friends and talk to girls and get to know people and have fun. And that's not as big of a social hub as it was. In the 80s and 90s, it was a big source of community and romance. If you listen to any pop culture song from that time, or even more recently, it's a lot about talking about meeting people in a club, right? And now that's a declining trend. Okay, so today it's a lot of doom scrolling, video games, and digital addictions, and people have friends online, right, on Discord, on video games and other things, and they're not going out to these nightclubs. Okay, so what's replacing them? Well, in the UK, the older demographics have coined something called light clubbing. So like hybrid experiences, themed bars. They're even talking about, with a lot of corporate offices and commercial properties that are basically vacant because of a lot of remote and hybrid work, turning some of those into party-themed type of atmospheres. but a lot of it is just evaporating, and no one is really going out to these events. Okay, so what does the future look like? Well, what I have noticed, from a personal anecdote, is a large part of clubbing has been replaced with other social venues, especially the gym. So I've noticed that the gym used to be a place where guys would just go and work out, right, and lift and do their thing. But now, I have noticed that a lot of women go to the gyms wearing bright colors and clothing, and people are there like kind of hanging out and talking more than working out. So that is one small factor. A bigger part of it would be COVID and the digital retreat. So a lot of people just have anxiety and other issues, and they'd rather just stay at home than go out past 10 p.m. and spend all this money that they would rather save. Okay, so a big part of this all contributes to a declining personal, in-person, social connection. So people feel like they can get the same experience from home, not going out, right? Talking to people online, or even not even talking to people at all, and just retreating into video games, social media, porn, all these other things where they don't feel like spending the energy, the effort, the money, right, to engage in these activities because there's something easier. Click the video appearing on your screen, and I'll see you in that next one.